Welcome, everyone, to a motivational Monday here on Texas Rangers Daily. It is me, Chris, with a positive C. Another week is starting right now, so let's jump right into it. Stand on a little bit of ceremony, though, because we have a new sign, new Skip. Who dis? Because Skip Schumacher is now officially your Texas Rangers manager. Yeah, Skip's your Skip. And I'm happy about that. I think that was one of the worst kept secrets in all of sports, that Skip Schumacher was probably going to take over this year as your Texas Rangers manager. And he had his first interview with the flagship station of the Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan, with the KNC Masterpiece. There are a couple of things that I have here in my handy-dandy notebook that I really took from this interview. One is that he understands that being a manager is part therapist, so that's very good to know. He is not just all numbers. He understands that there's definitely the human element that comes along with leading a whole group of men and a very large roster at that. He leans on his coaching staff a lot when it comes to the communication with his players, though, which is a good thing to know. He knows his blind spots. He reminds me a little bit about with Brian Schottenheimer in the way that he seems to really latch onto the idea of his assistants and his coaching staff being a bridge between him and him himself being in there too, but also understanding his blind spots is something that Brian Schottenheimer seems to be very adept to, and it seems like Skip Schumacher is cut of that same cloth. I love this quote. He thinks the game tells you what to do when it comes to dealing with your players, whether or not you need to put an arm around them or whether or not you need to dare call and slap them in the face. He feels that there's no one way to manage everybody, and that goes into the idea of like Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was big into you cannot coach everyone the same way, and so I think that's a very good mindset to have, especially with the modern baseball player. So Bochy called Skip whenever it's weird calling Skip because he is a Skip, but Bochy called Skip, said he cannot wait to learn from Skip, and that's big too because this whole time Schumacher has been kind of waiting in the wings, and the question was whether or not Bochy treated him like a manager in training. Skip said he didn't. Skip said he just treated him like a colleague, like a friend, and that's important now because Boch might become a front office member, and if that relationship's really, really good, we can continue on with a little bit of the culture that was there with the Texas Rangers in 2023. They need to figure out a way to score without slug, but they need to be able to slug, of course, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about the ALCS, but they need to be able to manufacture runs. They need to be able to make more baseball plays when it comes to being up at the plate and having better at bats, and they said making the pitcher feel them, and that's a big thing, making that team feel that they just played the Texas Rangers. I feel sometimes this past year that a team could come in here or they could go to any ballpark, and it seemed like the team might have felt like they were getting a series off. They need to be really good on the bases, they need to put pressure on pitchers, and they need better team at bats. So that's pretty much what I took away from the Skip Schumacher interview with KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. Very good interview. Very fun person. He also is a prankster. So him and Adam Wainwright had a prank war going on that he talked about. And yeah, it just seems like Skip's a very fun guy. He knows that baseball and games in general, especially, it really doesn't matter the sport. Games in general need to be fun, and if you're not having fun while you're playing the game, it's going to be a grind even more than it already is. And speaking of grind, the offseason is a little bit of a grind, and we'll be talking about one of the things in the offseason that happens every year. It's called arbitration, and Matthew Postings of Sports Illustrated has a pretty cool article about the 9 players that the Rangers will be going into this year's arbitration hearings with, and they cost a little bit of money. The Rangers will be cutting down payroll, apparently, from what Chris Young was talking about. That's okay, that's fine. You can find players on the cheap, but here's the issue. $30 million of the payroll is automatically going to be pretty much all these guys on arbitration. Maybe they might need to remove some of these guys because you have a guy like Adolis Garcia who's probably going to get about $12 million. Now, here's the thing about Adolis. Adolis is most likely going to get moved, and the Rangers have precedence of moving a guy who is going to get $10 million or more in arbitration. That's what happened to Nate Lowe when they sent him to the Nationals. And so here are the numbers when it comes to the rest of the guys in arbitration. They're millions of dollars, and whether or not they should just try to move them immediately to save some money and maybe get something a little bit better in return or later on. Jonah Heim's going to cost $6 million. He needs to be moved. Jacob Webb's $2 million. That's fine. Sam Haggerty, if you can move him for the $1.4 million, that would be great. Josh Spores coming off of injury, $1.1 million. Josh Young, I said him, I keep him or move him or whatever that segment was. You need to keep Josh Young just in case. Same with Ezekiel Duran. You might as well try to fix him. $2.9 million for Josh Young and $1.4 million for Ezekiel Duran. Josh Smith, who we'll be talking about in the next segment, is a $3 million player. And Jake Berger, who I think the Rangers should move because he did not live up to the potential. And even though the last part of the year was kind of okay, he ended that season so poorly with so many strikeouts, such poor at-bats. I think they should try to move Jake Berger if they can. He would cost $3.4 million, and overall it's about $30 million in just arbitration. Now, the Rangers are in a position financially, as they've said to us publicly, that I don't think they can afford to keep everybody there. In fact, I think they need to move on from as many of the $3 million or more players as much as possible. So, yeah, arbitration's coming. We'll get more into that and kind of go into the specifics of each player and why they are or are not worth the money that they could be getting paid soon. A guy who has been worth his money, at least for the first half of every year, sorry, but it's true, is Josh Smith. Josh Smith is a really good player for about 85 games, and then something happens to him. Josh Smith this year had a pretty just, average Josh Smith year. He batted .251, 335 on base percentage with a 366 slugging percentage, just an average slash line. Here's where the problem is. Last month of the year, he batted .226. Versus lefties, he batted .206. August and September, .209 and .200. Absolutely awful. He only had one home run in those 2 months, 6 RBIs, slugging under .270. He's not driving the ball. In the entire second half, actually, it was that bad because the first half he batted .277, 769 OPS with 8 home runs, and here's the big number, 16 doubles. 16 doubles means he was driving the ball as much as a guy like Josh Smith, not a big guy, not a power guy, can. Getting in the alleys, using his speed, that's a good amount of doubles, but he could not replicate that at all in the second half. In fact, only had 6 doubles in 2 months in August and September into October. Just not doing a very good job. And that to me means he was getting tired. He was getting tired. I think we've proven now that, and this isn't just 2 years, this is 4 years of Josh Smith here with the Texas Rangers. I believe he has proven that he is not an everyday player. He is definitely one of the best utility men in Major League Baseball, but he is not an everyday player. And unless he changes the ways that he trains, he changes his body, changes his stamina, changes something about the way he does things, or the Rangers change the way they play him, we're going to see this second half swoon throughout his career. It's just going to happen because he's already kind of an older player. He's not a young cat. So it's not like this. This is kind of who Josh Smith is. And that's fine. Some players are this. And you know what? Maybe he's an all-star, but I think the all-star, label is a first half label most of the time. So it's half of the season. Sometimes these all-stars have bad halves of the year, especially guys like Josh Smith. And so, yeah, I think that according to the numbers and the way things are going down, you have to keep Josh Smith around because he's very important with a guy like Semien and Seager getting injured. But you also have to think about, am I really going to get the offensive production needed to keep his bat in the lineup? And sometimes you have a guy who you're like, oh man, I have to get his bat in the lineup somehow, so I'll put him anywhere. Josh Smith's the kind of guy who plays a lot of really good defense. And in multiple positions, you're like, okay, I need his glove in the lineup. But his bat, especially at this last half of the year, not too much. So maybe we'll make some changes there. The Rangers might make some changes there. Who knows? They need to make some changes because there are nothing like the teams who are in the ALCS this year. The Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners are in the ALCS. In fact, Game 1 just happened a little while ago, or is happening right now as I'm recording this. Here's the thing, guys. The biggest thing that they have that the Texas Rangers don't, besides now we have Skip Schumacher, of course, but Bochy was a secret weapon. No, slugging. And I know that a guy like Jared Sandler will tell you that slugging is not the problem that the Rangers had. It was at bats and things like that, and not being able to manufacture runs. And that's whole well and dandy for this team. The team is built off a slug because that's what's happening with the teams that are winning. With go look at the numbers of George Springer, Cal Raleigh, Aurelio Suarez, Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those guys were knocking the cover off the ball all year long. And that's what the Rangers missed because there was no danger in this lineup. And there weren't a lot of physical at-bats in this lineup. And what I mean by a physical at-bat is a guy who, when a pitcher locates a pitch where he thinks a guy is going to just foul it off or, maybe make that take, there's a guy who is putting bat barrel on ball and making the pitcher feel as if, even if it's not a fair ball, even if it's not a ball put in play at all, the ball's hit hard. The ball's hit hard either like right behind them or like ripped down the foul line or something like just foul. Physical at bats where the pitcher feels in danger anywhere he throws the pitch. Anywhere. Doesn't matter the location, doesn't matter the quadrant, doesn't matter anywhere. It feels as if that the pitcher has to make the very perfect pitch to this guy. We don't have anybody except for maybe Corey Seager that a pitcher really fears that way, where it doesn't matter where he throws it, it's gonna get hit. We have a lot of guys who have holes in their swing to the point where pitchers were, feasting off of Jake Berger and feasting off of Rowdy Tellez and feasting off of a second half Josh Smith. All these guys, just feasting off of Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim and some of these lackluster at bats and guys pressing and all of this stuff. Well, it has to change. There has to be a guy in this lineup besides Corey Seager that the pitchers are afraid of throughout the at bat. And maybe that comes with better approach, maybe. But I also think that the players need to be in the position. You know what I mean? We need a true feared slugger. We need a guy who's going to hit 35 bombs in his sleep, okay? That's what the Rangers need. And the Rangers don't have that. The Rangers don't have that in the pipeline. So if the Rangers are going to be where the Blue Jays are, where the Mariners are, they're going to have that type of player in their lineup. The thing was, in the World Series year, we had those type of players because Adolis was that type of player. But now he's fallen off a cliff so bad that maybe he can find that form again. I don't trust it. And I don't think the Rangers trust it either. So they will be making moves and making grooves. So we're going to groove on out of here. It's been a Motivational Monday. I'm motivated to get this week going. If you like the way I do my thing, if you enjoy the show, the lights are kind of broken right now. I got to fix them. But if you enjoy the show and you love, some Texas Rangers Daily, like, subscribe, and share everywhere. I'm Positive C. This has been Texas Rangers Daily. We'll see you tomorrow on a terrific Tuesday.